My name is Margaret, and at 63 years old, I never expected my only son to abandon me in a frozen parking lot on Christmas Eve. I was rushing through the snow to meet Derek and his wife Amanda for what I thought would be our family Christmas tradition when everything changed in an instant. Derek looked me straight in the eyes and said those words that shattered my heart into a million pieces. Mom, there's no room for you in our car. You'll have to find your own way home. As I stood there watching their taillights disappear into the night while Amanda laughed from the passenger seat, I felt something inside me snap. What happened next would cost them everything they thought they owned. If you are watching this now, please hit like, subscribe, and let me know where you are watching from as I share how one moment of cruelty led to the most satisfying Christmas gift I ever gave myself. My relationship with Derek had been strained for months, but I never imagined it would come to this brutal betrayal on the holiest night of the year. But before I tell you how I dismantled their entire world in one night, let me explain how I became the target of their elaborate scheme. I'm Margaret, 63 years old, a retired elementary school principal who spent 40 years shaping young minds and building a comfortable retirement. I owned my three-bedroom home outright, had a healthy pension, and thought my biggest concern was deciding whether to take that Mediterranean cruise I'd been planning. My late husband Thomas had left me well provided for when he passed 5 years ago, and I'd managed our investments carefully. By 2023, I was sitting on nearly $400,000 in savings, a paid-off house worth $350,000, and the kind of financial security that most people only dream about. What I didn't realize was that my son Derek had been watching my bank statements. Derek was 31 years old and had never quite figured out how to be an adult. After graduating college with a business degree I'd helped pay for, he'd bounced between entry-level jobs, always convinced that each one was beneath his potential. He'd been laid off from his latest position at Hartford Insurance in June, and his wife Amanda had quit her part-time job at Target the same week, claiming she needed to focus on Derek's career transition. Amanda Richardson Walsh had married my son 2 years earlier in a wedding that cost me $15,000 when Derek asked me to help make Amanda's dream day possible. She was 28 years old, had a bachelor's degree in communications from a mid-tier state school, and possessed the kind of entitled attitude that made my teeth ache. From the moment they started dating, Amanda made it clear that she considered herself superior to retail work, food service, or any job that didn't come with a corner office and a title that impressed her college friends. When Derek called me that humid Tuesday morning in June, his voice carried that familiar tone of manufactured crisis that I'd been hearing since he was 16. Mom, I have some news, and I need you to stay calm. Nothing good ever followed that phrase. I set down my morning coffee and braced myself. What happened, Derek? Well, Hartford decided to downsize their claims department, and my position was eliminated. It wasn't performance-related or anything, they're just cutting costs. I felt my stomach drop. Derek had been at Hartford for barely 18 months, his longest tenure at any job since college. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. When did this happen? Friday. They gave me 2 weeks' notice and a small severance package, but it's not going to last long. And with Amanda not working right now. His voice trailed off meaningfully. Amanda's not working? I thought she was doing well at Target. She quit last week. The manager was giving her a hard time about her availability, and she decided she didn't need that kind of stress while I'm dealing with job insecurity. Red flags immediately started waving in my mind. Derek, you quit a job while your husband was about to be laid off. It's complicated, Mom. The retail environment is really toxic for educated professionals. Amanda has a degree. She shouldn't have to deal with customers who treat her like she's beneath them. I closed my eyes and counted to 5. Amanda's degree was in communications with a minor in marketing, earned with a 2.8 GPA from Central Connecticut State University. It qualified her for exactly the kind of entry-level positions she considered beneath her. So, what's the plan? I asked carefully. Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Amanda and I have been discussing our options, and we think the smart move might be to temporarily relocate while I look for something better. Hartford's market is pretty saturated right now, and Amanda thinks I should be looking at senior-level positions that match my experience. Derek's experience consisted of 18 months processing insurance claims, 14 months as a bank teller, and a series of shorter stints in customer service roles. But I'd learned not to challenge his self-assessment directly. Where are you thinking of relocating? Actually, we were hoping we could stay with you for a few months, just until I land something solid. It would give us time to save money and really focus on finding the right opportunity instead of just taking the first thing that comes along. And there it was. The ask I'd been dreading since Derek graduated college, and immediately started making financial decisions like someone with a trust fund instead of someone with student loans. Derek, I'm not sure that's the best. Mom, I know it's a lot to ask, but we're family, and it would just be temporary, maybe through the end of the year. Amanda's really stressed about the uncertainty, and I think having family support would help both of us think more clearly. I looked around my peaceful living room, imagining it filled with Derek's gaming equipment and Amanda's online shopping packages. Imagining my quiet mornings interrupted by Amanda's noon wake-ups and Derek's late-night Xbox sessions. Have you looked into unemployment benefits? Or apartment options in your price range? Mom, unemployment barely covers our car payments, and the apartment market is insane right now. We'd end up in some terrible complex in a bad neighborhood, and that's not really the environment where we can focus on career planning. The manipulation was so obvious it made my chest tight. Derek and Amanda lived in a one-bedroom apartment in West Hartford that rented for $1,200 a month, hardly a slum. But they'd gotten used to a lifestyle that required both of them to be working, and now they were looking for someone else to fund it. Derek, I think there might be other options. Mom, please. I'm not asking for money. I'm just asking for a place to stay while we get back on our feet. We'll help around the house, contribute where we can. It'll be like having roommates, except we're family. The emotional manipulation was textbook Derek. Frame the ask as something that would benefit me, make it seem temporary and reasonable, and apply just enough guilt to make refusing seem selfish. I should have said no immediately. Should have explained that enabling adult children doesn't help them grow. Should have suggested they downsize their lifestyle instead of expecting me to subsidize it. Instead, I said, let me think about it. That's all I'm asking, Mom. Just think about it. Amanda, and I really appreciate you even considering it. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen for 30 minutes, staring at my coffee and trying to imagine how this arrangement could possibly work. Derek and Amanda had visited my house exactly 4 times in 2 years of marriage, and each visit had left me feeling like they were conducting an inspection rather than spending time with family. Amanda had a way of commenting on my decor, my food choices, and my lifestyle that felt like subtle criticism wrapped in fake concern. Oh, Margaret, you really should update this kitchen. Those appliances are so outdated. Or, Margaret, are you sure you should be eating so much sodium at your age? Always delivered with a bright smile that somehow made the comments feel more insulting than if she'd been openly rude. Derek, meanwhile, had developed a habit of treating my home like a hotel where the staff happened to be his mother. He'd raid my refrigerator without asking, leave dishes in the sink, and settle into my living room like he owned it. During their last visit, he'd actually rearranged my furniture to get a better angle for the TV, then acted surprised when I asked him to put it back. But Derek was my only child. My husband Thomas and I had tried for years to have more children, going through fertility treatments and 2 miscarriages before accepting that Derek would be our miracle baby. When Thomas died of a heart attack 5 years ago, Derek had been supportive and helpful, handling funeral arrangements and helping me navigate the insurance paperwork. He was flawed, but he was mine. And maybe I thought living together for a few months would give me a chance to help him and Amanda develop better financial habits. Maybe I could guide them toward more realistic career expectations. Maybe this was an opportunity to be the kind of mother who helped her adult child through a difficult transition. 3 days later, I called Derek back. "I've been thinking about your situation," I said, "and I think we can make a temporary arrangement work." Derek's relief was audible. "Mom, thank you so much. This is going to be such a huge help. Amanda's going to be so relieved. But I need us to establish some ground rules first." "Of course, absolutely. Whatever you need." "This is temporary, through the end of December at the absolute latest. You'll both be actively job searching every day. You'll contribute to household expenses based on what you can afford. And you'll respect that this is my home, not a hotel." "Mom, yes, completely. We'll be model house guests. And I promise, by Christmas we'll be out of your hair and back on our feet." That conversation happened on June 15th. By June 18th, Derek and Amanda had moved into my spare bedroom with more belongings than I'd accumulated in the previous 5 years. The first week was actually pleasant. Derek seemed genuinely motivated to find work, spending hours on job websites and making phone calls to his network. Amanda was polite and helpful, offering to cook dinner and asking thoughtful questions about my retirement routine. They both made an effort to be considerate house guests, cleaning up after themselves and giving me space in the evenings. But by the second week, the facade started slipping. I woke up one Wednesday morning to find Amanda in my kitchen at 11 a.m., still in her pajamas, using my coffee maker to make some elaborate drink that required 3 different types of milk I'd never seen before. "Good morning, Amanda. Sleep well?" "Oh, hi, Margaret. Yeah, I was up late helping Derek with his job applications. This whole process is so stressful. I don't know how people did it before LinkedIn made everything so complicated." I looked at the coffee supplies scattered across my counter. "What are you making?" "Oh, it's this amazing turmeric latte recipe I found on TikTok. It's supposed to be great for stress and inflammation. I ordered the ingredients yesterday. They should arrive this afternoon." "You ordered ingredients? From where?" "Amazon. Don't worry, I used your account since Derek and I don't have Prime anymore. We figured it was easier than setting up a whole new account for just a few things." The casual way she said it made my blood pressure spike. "Amanda, you used my Amazon account without asking?" "Oh." She looked genuinely surprised. "I thought Derek cleared that with you. He said you wouldn't mind since we're family now. Is that not okay?" The innocent tone was perfectly calculated. Make it sound like a miscommunication rather than an assumption. Put the burden on me to either accept it gracefully or look petty for objecting. "In the future, please ask before using any of my accounts." "Of course. I'm so sorry. I should have thought of that. We'll be more careful." But the Amazon packages kept coming. Skincare products for Amanda's sensitive skin condition. Gaming accessories for Derek's networking purposes. Apparently playing Call of Duty with potential contacts was part of his job search strategy. Kitchen gadgets that Amanda insisted would help her contribute more to meal preparation. When I checked my Amazon account that Friday, I found $347 in charges I hadn't authorized. When I brought it up to Derek, he was immediately defensive. "Mom, it's not like we're buying luxury items. This is stuff we need for basic functioning while we're getting back on our feet." "Derek, $347 is a significant amount of money to spend without asking." "I know, and I'm sorry. We should have checked with you first. But look at it this way. Once I get a job, we'll pay you back for everything. Think of it as an advance on our contribution to household expenses." The logic was so backwards it made my head spin. They were spending my money and then promising to pay me back with money they didn't have from jobs they didn't have. But Derek looked genuinely contrite, and Amanda made a point of cooking an elaborate dinner that night using ingredients she'd bought with my money to apologize for spending my money. The absurdity was almost artistic. "Margaret, I feel terrible about the misunderstanding," Amanda said as she served her famous chicken marsala. "Derek and I talked about it, and we want to be completely transparent about expenses going forward. We'll ask before purchasing anything, and we'll keep track of everything so we can pay you back properly. She'd even created a spreadsheet on her laptop with columns for item, cost, date, and repayment status. It looked very official and organized. It also showed a running total of $0 in the repayment column, but the effort seemed sincere. July brought new challenges. Derek's job search had apparently expanded to include entrepreneurial opportunities and consulting possibilities that never seemed to involve actual interviews. He developed a routine of sleeping until 10 a.m., spending an hour looking at job postings while eating the breakfast I'd prepared, then transitioning to research that looked suspiciously like social media browsing. Amanda, meanwhile, had decided that her job search required her to rebrand herself as a digital marketing strategist, rather than someone looking for entry-level positions. She spent hours creating an elaborate personal website, designing business cards, and developing a social media presence that portrayed her as an established professional rather than someone who'd recently quit Target. "I need to position myself at the right level," she explained when I asked about applying for communications coordinator positions that seemed perfect for her background. "If I start too low, it'll be hard to move up to where I should be. Better to hold out for something that recognizes my potential." Her potential apparently commanded a starting salary of $65,000, which was roughly double what most communications professionals made in our area. But Amanda had convinced herself that her education and natural marketing instincts justified premium compensation. The household expenses, meanwhile, were adding up faster than I'd anticipated. My grocery bill had doubled, not just because I was feeding 2 additional people, but because Derek and Amanda had expensive tastes. Amanda insisted on organic everything, specialty brands, and ingredients for elaborate meals that showcased her cooking skills. Derek had developed a preference for craft beer and imported cheese, claiming that eating well was important for maintaining morale during his job search. My utility bills were also climbing. Amanda liked the house kept at exactly 72 degrees and ran her laptop, phone charger, and various beauty appliances constantly. Derek had set up a gaming station in the living room that seemed to consume electricity like a small factory. When I calculated the monthly impact in early August, I realized that Derek and Amanda were costing me approximately $600 more than I'd budgeted for. Not unmanageable, but not insignificant either. "Derek, I think we need to talk about the household expense situation." We were sitting on my back patio after dinner, and Derek was scrolling through his phone while Amanda was inside doing some kind of honey face mask she'd ordered online. "What about it? The additional costs are higher than I'd anticipated. I think we need to figure out a way for you and Amanda to contribute something, even if it's not the full amount." Derek looked genuinely surprised. "Mom, I thought we covered this. As soon as I get a job, we'll settle up everything. But right now, we literally have no income." "I understand that. But maybe there are other ways to contribute. Amanda could take on some cleaning or yard work. You could handle some of the maintenance projects I've been putting off." "Mom, we're already helping around the house. Amanda cooks dinner most nights, and I've been handling the trash and recycling." This was technically true, though Amanda's elaborate cooking projects usually left the kitchen looking like a disaster zone that took me an hour to clean, and Derek's trash duties consisted of dragging bins to the curb once a week. "I'm not trying to be unreasonable," I said carefully, "but $600 a month is a significant impact on my budget." $600? What are you including in that number? I pulled out my notebook where I'd been tracking expenses. Groceries are up about $200. Utilities are up $80. The Amazon purchases total $890 so far, which averages to about $150 per month. Restaurant meals when you invite friends over, household supplies, internet overage charges. Derek's expression was shifting from surprise to irritation. "Mom, most of those costs are things that benefit everyone. The food, the household supplies, you use those too. Derek, organic salmon, and craft beer are not things that benefit everyone equally." "So what are you saying? That we should eat ramen noodles and drink tap water because we're temporarily unemployed? The conversation was going sideways fast. Derek had a talent for reframing reasonable requests as unreasonable demands, making me feel like I was being petty for wanting basic consideration. I'm saying that maybe we could make some adjustments to reduce the financial impact. Shop at regular grocery stores instead of Whole Foods. Cook simpler meals. Be more conscious of electricity usage. Mom, this is exactly the kind of stress we were hoping to avoid by staying with family. If we have to pinch every penny and live like college students, it defeats the purpose of having a supportive environment for job searching. And there it was. Derek had reframed my financial support as something I owed him, rather than something I was choosing to provide. My request for moderation had become an attack on his job search environment. Derek, I'm not asking you to live like college students. I'm asking you to be mindful that your choices affect my budget.
Fine.
Amanda, and I will be more careful about expenses. But Mom, you have to understand that this situation is temporary. Once I find the right position, we'll not only pay you back, but we'll be able to help you out too. Think of this as an investment in our future ability to support you. The manipulation was so smooth I almost missed it. Derek had just suggested that my current financial support would somehow result in future financial support for me, as if I was the one who would eventually need help. I should have ended the arrangement right then. Should have given them 30 days' notice and helped them find an apartment they could actually afford. Should have recognized that Derek and Amanda weren't looking for temporary assistance. They were looking for a permanent subsidy. Instead, I swallowed my frustration and agreed to continue the arrangement through the end of the year, as originally planned. August brought Amanda's wine nights. I came home from my Tuesday book club to find 5 women in their late 20s drinking wine in my living room, laughing loudly at something on Amanda's phone. The coffee table was covered with cheese, crackers, and chocolate, all from my kitchen, and someone had moved my reading chair to make room for additional seating. Oh, Margaret. Amanda jumped up when she saw me, wine glass in hand. Perfect timing. I want you to meet my friends. This is Jessica, Sarah, Megan, and Chloe. Everyone, this is Derek's mom, Margaret. The women smiled politely and made room for me on my own couch. Jessica, who appeared to be the ringleader, raised her wine glass in my direction. Amanda's told us so much about you. You're so generous to let them stay here while they get back on their feet. My parents would never be that cool. It's temporary, I said, settling into the available corner of my sofa. How do you all know Amanda? We went to Central together, Sarah explained. Amanda was in my marketing research class. She was always the smartest one in the room. The professors loved her. Amanda's going to be running her own agency within 5 years, Megan added. She's just too creative for corporate life. I looked at Amanda, who was glowing under the praise and refilling wine glasses with my wine. She'd apparently positioned herself as a successful marketing professional taking a strategic break rather than someone who'd quit Target and was unemployed. Amanda, when did you start hosting wine nights here? Oh, just recently. The girls have been so supportive during this transition period, and I thought it would be nice to return the favor. Is that okay? I should have asked first. Again, the question came after the fact, making me choose between seeming controlling or accepting something I hadn't agreed to. In the future, I'd appreciate a heads up when you're planning to have guests. Of course. I just thought since Derek and I live here now, it would be okay to have friends over occasionally. But you're absolutely right, it's your house. The distinction was subtle, but important. Amanda had just claimed to live here now rather than staying here temporarily, a shift that probably seemed natural to her friends, but made my blood pressure spike. The wine nights became a weekly occurrence. Every Tuesday, Amanda's friends would arrive around 7 p.m. and stay until nearly midnight, drinking my wine and eating my food while discussing their careers, relationships, and various social dramas. Amanda always asked permission after the fact, always apologized for not checking first, and always promised to be more considerate next time. But the pattern continued, and I found myself grocery shopping specifically for wine night supplies, cleaning my house before Amanda's friends arrived, and generally feeling like a caterer for my house guests' social life. Derek, meanwhile, had settled into a routine that involved applying for 1 or 2 jobs per week, always positions that were either above his experience level or in cities where he'd have to relocate. When I asked about local opportunities that seemed like good fits, he always had reasons why they weren't right. That's more of a lateral move than a step up, he'd say about positions that actually seemed perfect for his background. I don't want to get stuck in another dead-end role. This one's with a company that's having financial problems, he'd explain about a job at a stable insurance firm. I need something with long-term security. The commute would be terrible, he'd rationalize about a position 15 minutes from my house. Gas costs and wear and tear on the car would eat up most of the salary. Every opportunity had a fatal flaw that justified waiting for something better. Derek had convinced himself that he deserved a senior-level position based on his potential rather than his experience, and he was willing to remain unemployed rather than accept anything that felt like settling. Amanda, meanwhile, had largely abandoned traditional job searching in favor of building her personal brand. She spent hours on Instagram and LinkedIn, posting motivational quotes about entrepreneurship and sharing articles about marketing trends. She'd started describing herself as a marketing consultant and talking about building a client base rather than looking for employment. When I asked her about specific consulting projects, the details were always vague. I'm working on developing a proposal for a local restaurant that wants to improve their social media presence, she'd say. It's still in the early stages, but it could be really lucrative. The restaurant project, like all of Amanda's consulting opportunities, never seemed to progress beyond the early stages. But it gave her a reason to spend money on marketing courses, design software, and networking events that would help her invest in her business. By September, I was starting to feel like a stranger in my own home. Derek and Amanda had gradually taken over common spaces, filling the living room with their electronics and the dining room with Amanda's office setup. My refrigerator was stocked with their specialty ingredients, my Netflix account was logged into their profiles, and my daily routine had been adjusted to accommodate their schedules. Amanda didn't wake up until 11 a.m. most days, which meant I couldn't use the bathroom attached to the guest room for my morning routine. Derek stayed up until 2 a.m. gaming with friends, which meant I couldn't watch TV in the living room after 9 p.m. without disrupting his networking sessions. When I suggested that maybe Derek could use headphones for his late-night gaming, he explained that voice chat was an essential part of building professional relationships with potential contacts in the gaming industry. A lot of tech companies recruit through gaming networks now, he said seriously. Some of my best job leads have come from people I met online. None of Derek's gaming contacts had actually produced job leads, but the possibility justified treating my living room like a 24-hour gaming lounge. The breaking point came in October when I discovered that Derek and Amanda had been using my credit card for online purchases. I noticed the charges when I was reviewing my monthly statement, small amounts for food delivery, streaming services, and various online subscriptions. When I confronted Derek about it, he was completely unapologetic. "Mom, I thought you knew. The card was in the kitchen drawer, and we've been using it for household stuff. Food, utilities, things that benefit everyone." Derek, streaming services and DoorDash are not household utilities. The streaming services are for everyone to use. And we only order food when we're too busy with job searching to cook. It's more efficient than spending hours in the kitchen. I looked at the charges more carefully. $89 for DoorDash orders. $47 for various streaming subscriptions. $23 for a gaming service I'd never heard of. Over $200 in unauthorized charges, all made without my knowledge or permission. "Derek, this is my credit card. You can't just use it whenever you want." "Mom, we're family. And it's not like we're buying luxury items. This is basic living expenses. DoorDash from restaurants I can't afford is not basic living expenses."
Fine.
We'll be more careful about what we charge. But Mom, you're acting like we're trying to take advantage of you, and that's not what this is. We're just trying to survive a difficult period, and sometimes that means making practical choices about how to spend money efficiently. The conversation went in circles for 40 minutes, with Derek consistently reframing unauthorized charges as practical choices and my objections as evidence that I didn't trust my own family. By the end, I felt like I was the one being unreasonable for expecting to be asked before my credit card was used. That night, I changed my credit card number and put the new card in my bedroom instead of the kitchen drawer. The next morning, Derek approached me with a hurt expression. Mom, I tried to order groceries for dinner tonight, and your card was declined. Did something happen with your account? I changed the card number. Why would you do that? Because I want to know when it's being used and for what. Derek's expression shifted from hurt to angry. So, you don't trust us anymore? After everything we've talked about? Derek, it's not about trust. It's about communication. I want to be asked before money is spent, not informed after the fact. Mom, this is exactly the kind of micromanagement that makes it impossible to focus on job searching. Amanda and I are already stressed about our situation. Now we have to worry about getting permission to eat dinner? And somehow, again, Derek had made my reasonable boundary into an unreasonable burden on his job search. According to his logic, asking before spending someone else's money was micromanagement that interfered with his ability to find employment. November brought the Thanksgiving disaster. Derek announced, without consulting me, that he and Amanda wanted to host Thanksgiving dinner for Amanda's family. It'll be perfect, Amanda said, bouncing with excitement. My parents and my sister's family are coming, about 8 people total. We'll handle all the planning and cooking. You won't have to do anything except enjoy the family time. I stared at her. Amanda, you want to host a dinner party for 8 people in my house without asking me first? Oh, I thought Derek clear it with you. This is awkward. She looked genuinely surprised, as if the idea of asking permission to invite 8 strangers to my home for a major holiday was an unusual concept. Derek didn't mention anything about this to me. Well, we can definitely discuss it, Derek said quickly. But, Mom, think about how nice it would be to have a full house for Thanksgiving. You've been saying you miss having family around during the holidays. This was true. I had mentioned missing the large family gatherings we used to have when Thomas was alive. But I've been talking about missing my husband and my own extended family, not about hosting a dinner party for Amanda's relatives. Derek, I appreciate the thought, but hosting 8 people is a significant undertaking. There's shopping, cleaning, cooking, setup. Mom, Amanda, and I will handle everything, Derek interrupted. You won't have to lift a finger. We'll take care of all the preparation and cleanup. Think of it as our way of contributing to the household. The offer was appealing, I had to admit. I hadn't cooked a proper Thanksgiving dinner since Thomas died, and the idea of having a house full of people and conversation was tempting. What would you need from me? Just the use of your kitchen and dining room, Amanda said. And maybe help with the grocery budget, since we're currently between jobs. But Derek and I will do all the actual work. I should have recognized this for what it was, another request for me to fund their social life while they took credit for hosting. But the promise of a traditional Thanksgiving celebration clouded my judgment. Okay, I said. But I want to be involved in the planning, and I want a realistic budget before we commit to anything. Amanda's face lit up. Margaret, this is going to be amazing. I'm already picturing how beautiful everything will be. The planning process was a masterclass in scope creep. Amanda's initial menu featuring simple, traditional dishes quickly expanded to include multiple appetizers, 3 side dishes I'd never heard of, and a dessert spread that required ingredients I had to special order online. I want to make a good impression on my family, Amanda explained when I questioned the elaborate menu. They've never been to your house before, and I want them to see how well Derek and I are doing. The irony was staggering. Amanda wanted to impress her family by demonstrating how well she and Derek were doing while living rent-free in my house and spending my money on ingredients for dinner. The grocery bill for Thanksgiving came to $347. Amanda had insisted on organic everything, premium ingredients, and enough food to feed twice as many people as we were expecting. When I expressed sticker shock at the total, Amanda looked hurt. "Margaret, I thought you wanted this to be special. If we're going to do it, we should do it right." "Amanda, $347 is more than I usually spend on groceries in 2 months. I know it seems like a lot, but think about how much it would cost to take 8 people out to a restaurant. We're actually saving money by cooking at home." This logic, that spending $347 on groceries was economical because restaurant meals would cost more, was so twisted I didn't know how to respond. Derek backed up his wife. "Mom, this is a one-time expense for a special occasion. And Amanda's right, the cost per person is actually pretty reasonable when you break it down." The cost per person was reasonable if you ignored the fact that I was paying for all of it while Derek and Amanda took credit for hosting. Thanksgiving Day itself was even worse than I'd anticipated. Amanda's family arrived at 1 p.m. expecting a house tour and cocktails, while Amanda was still in her pajamas and the turkey wasn't even in the oven yet. "Margaret, could you maybe handle the appetizers while I shower and get dressed?" Amanda asked, as if I was her catering assistant rather than the homeowner whose kitchen she'd commandeered. For the next 6 hours, I found myself cooking, serving, and cleaning while Derek and Amanda played host and hostess. Amanda's parents complimented their beautiful home and their delicious cooking, while Amanda accepted the praise graciously and Derek talked about their plans for future entertaining. Amanda's mother, Patricia, was particularly effusive in her compliments. "Amanda, this house is absolutely gorgeous. You and Derek have such wonderful taste." "Thank you so much," Amanda replied. "We've been slowly making it our own, adding personal touches here and there. Personal touches that had been funded entirely by my credit card and implemented without my permission, but Patricia didn't need to know that. And this dinner is incredible," Amanda's father added. "You two really know how to entertain." "We love having family over," Derek said, refilling wine glasses with wine I'd bought. "This house is perfect for gatherings like this." I was standing in my own kitchen, washing dishes while my son and his wife accepted credit for my hospitality, my money, and my home. The surreal nature of the situation made me feel like I was having an out-of-body experience. The final insult came when Amanda's sister asked about their living situation. "So, how long have you two been living here?" she asked during dessert. "We moved in over the summer," Derek replied. "Mom was rattling around in this big house by Derek, my 31-year-old son, had lost his job at the insurance company back in June, and his wife Amanda had quit her part-time job at Target because she said retail was beneath her education level. She had a bachelor's degree in communications and apparently considered herself overqualified for any actual work. "Mom, we just need a few months to get back on our feet," Derek had said when they showed up at my door with 3 suitcases and a moving truck. "Amanda's applying for marketing positions, and I'm waiting to hear back from some interviews. We'll be out by Christmas, I promise." I'd raised Derek as a single mother after his father abandoned us when Derek was 4. I'd worked double shifts as a teacher and principal to give him every opportunity, paid for his college, helped him with his first apartment, even lent him money for his wedding. Now he was in trouble, and of course I was going to help. My mistake was not setting boundaries from day one. Within a week, Derek and Amanda had taken over my living room with their gaming setup. Amanda was ordering expensive skincare products online using my Amazon account, and neither of them was contributing a penny to groceries, utilities, or household expenses. When I suggested they help with cleaning, Amanda laughed and said, "Oh, Margaret, I have such sensitive skin. I can't use those harsh chemicals." Amanda had started calling me by my first name instead of Mom within days of moving in, claiming it made her feel more like family. What it actually made her feel like was someone who could treat my home like a hotel. Derek spent his days playing video games and scrolling through job listings on his phone. When I asked about interviews, he'd say he was being selective and didn't want to settle for just anything. Meanwhile, Amanda spent her mornings in bed until noon, her afternoons online shopping, and her evenings complaining about how unfair the job market was for educated professionals. By August, I was spending $400 more per month on groceries. My electric bill had doubled from all their electronics, and Amanda's need to keep the house at 72 degrees, and they'd somehow convinced me to add them to my Costco membership, my Netflix account, and my car insurance. It's just temporary, Mom, Derek would say whenever I brought up finances. Once we get jobs, we'll pay you back for everything. But the job search seemed to become less urgent every week. Derek turned down a position at a local bank because the salary was insulting, and Amanda refused to even apply for anything that wasn't a senior marketing coordinator role, despite having less than 2 years of experience. September brought a new low. Amanda started redecorating my living room without asking, claiming the decor was too dated for their friends to visit. She bought new throw pillows, a different coffee table, and expensive scented candles, all charged to my Amazon account. When I confronted her, she said, "Oh, I thought you'd appreciate the upgrade. Derek said you loved when people took initiative." That's when I realized Derek was telling his wife things about me that weren't true. He was presenting me as someone who loved being taken care of, who enjoyed having them around, who didn't mind the expenses. He was rewriting our relationship to justify their behavior. October was when Amanda started having her friends over for wine nights twice a week. I'd come home from my volunteer work at the library to find 5 women in their late 20s drinking my wine, eating cheese and crackers I'd bought for myself, and treating my dining room like their personal social club. When I politely asked if they could clean up after themselves, Amanda said, "Of course, Margaret. We're family now." But they never cleaned up. I'd wake up the next morning to dirty wine glasses, crumb-covered counters, and my good cheese completely gone. In November, things escalated. Derek announced that he and Amanda wanted to host Thanksgiving at their place, meaning my house, for Amanda's parents and her sister's family. 12 people for dinner, and they expected me to cook, clean, and pay for everything while they played host. "Think of it as practice for when we have our own house," Amanda said, as if I was some kind of training ground for her future entertaining. I spent $300 on groceries for that dinner, cooked for 2 days straight, and served a beautiful Thanksgiving meal. Derek and Amanda presented themselves as the gracious hosts, accepting compliments on their home and their cooking, while I cleaned up in the kitchen like hired help. Amanda's mother actually pulled me aside and said, "You're so lucky Margaret is helping you two get established." Not many mothers-in-law would be this generous. I watched Amanda smile and nod, taking credit for my generosity while treating me like the housekeeping staff. That night, as I was loading the dishwasher for the 3rd time, I heard Amanda on the phone with her sister. "Oh, it's perfect here. Margaret basically takes care of everything, and Derek and I can focus on our careers. It's like having a live-in housekeeper who pays all the bills." That's when I realized they weren't planning to leave after Christmas. They weren't even looking for jobs anymore. They'd found a comfortable arrangement where they could live like adults without any adult responsibilities, and I was the fool enabling it. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. I was waiting for the right moment, the perfect catalyst that would justify what I was planning to do. Christmas Eve provided that catalyst in the most humiliating way possible. Derek had called around 6 p.m., excited about going to see the elaborate Christmas light displays in Riverside Park. "Mom, we're heading out to see the lights. Can you meet us at the church parking lot on 5th Street? We'll all go together. Make it a family tradition." I was thrilled. Despite everything, I still loved my son, and I'd been hoping we could salvage some Christmas magic. I bundled up in my warmest coat, grabbed my purse, and drove through the snow to meet them. The church parking lot was mostly empty, just a few cars scattered around. I saw Derek's car and pulled up next to it, excited to see them. Derek got out of the driver's seat, but something fell off immediately. "Hey, Mom," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "So, there's been a little change of plans." "What kind of change?" I asked, noticing that Amanda was still sitting in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone. "Well, we've got Amanda's sister and her boyfriend with us now, and with all the Christmas presents in the back." Derek gestured vaguely at his car. "We don't really have room for another person." I looked at the car. Amanda's sister and boyfriend were indeed in the back seat, along with several shopping bags. But it was a 5-seater sedan. There was definitely room for me if someone moved the bags. "We could put the bags in the trunk," I suggested. "Oh, the trunk's full too," Derek said quickly. "Christmas presents for everybody, you know how it is." "Derek, I drove all the way out here because you invited me. Surely we can make room." "Mom, don't make this difficult," Derek interrupted. "We'll swing by the house later, and you can see pictures on Amanda's phone. Maybe we can watch a Christmas movie together or something." I looked past Derek to the car, where Amanda was now looking at me with what I can only describe as a smirk. She mouthed something to her sister, and they both started giggling. That's when I realized this wasn't a logistics problem. This was intentional. "Derek," I said slowly, "did you invite me out here just to uninvite me?" "Mom, you're being dramatic. We just didn't think it through properly. Next time we'll plan better." "There won't be a next time," I said quietly. "What do you mean?" I looked at my son, my 31-year-old son who I'd raised alone, who I'd sacrificed for, who I'd given everything to, and I saw a stranger. Someone who would drive his mother out into 12-degree weather just to humiliate her in front of his wife's family. I mean, have a wonderful time at the lights. I'll see you later. Derek looked relieved. "Great. We'll probably be back around 9 or 10. Maybe you could make some of those Christmas cookies? Amanda's been wanting to try your recipe." I just smiled. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll take care of everything." Derek got back in his car, and I watched them drive away. Amanda waved at me through the passenger window, still smirking. I stood in that empty parking lot for about 2 minutes, snow starting to fall more heavily, feeling the cold seep through my coat. Then I got in my car, started the engine, and drove to my first stop. Riverside Locksmith was open until 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve, advertising emergency services for people locked out of their homes during the holidays. I walked in at 6:47 p.m. with my house keys and asked for a complete rekey service. "All the locks, ma'am?" the locksmith asked. "That's going to be about $400 for emergency service on Christmas Eve." "All the locks," I confirmed. "And I need it done tonight." "Any particular reason for the rush?" I handed him my credit card. "I'm expecting some unwelcome visitors." While the locksmith worked on my house, I drove to the bank. The ATM allowed me to access my account, and I quickly transferred all the money from the joint checking account Derek had access to into my personal savings account. Then I called the credit card company's 24-hour customer service line. "I need to report fraudulent activity on my account," I told the representative. "What kind of activity, ma'am?" "Unauthorized users have been making charges without my permission. I need to cancel the card immediately and remove all additional cardholders." Within 10 minutes, Derek and Amanda's access to my credit card was completely cut off. My final stop was the phone store. I walked in at 8:15 p.m. and removed Derek and Amanda from my family plan, effective immediately. Their phones would be cut off by midnight. By 8:45 p.m., I was back home. The locksmith had finished installing new locks and had given me 3 sets of keys. My house was secure, my finances were protected, and Derek and Amanda were officially cut off from every resource they'd been exploiting. I made myself a cup of hot chocolate, put on my favorite Christmas music, and started wrapping the presents I'd bought for my church's gift drive. Real gifts for real children who actually needed them, not entitled adults who confuse generosity with stupidity. At 9:30 p.m., my phone started ringing. Derek's number. "Hey, Mom, we're heading back now." The lights were amazing. Amanda got some great pictures. Can you have the garage door open? It's really cold out here. I'm sorry, sweetheart, but the garage door opener is broken. Oh, okay. We'll just use the front door then. See you in a few minutes. I hung up and waited. At 9:52 p.m., I heard Derek's car pull into the driveway. Then I heard car doors slamming, footsteps on the porch, and the sound of a key trying to fit into a lock that no longer recognized it. More attempted key insertions. Frustrated muttering. Knocking. Mom? The key isn't working. Can you open the door? I walked to the front window and pulled back the curtain. Derek, Amanda, her sister, and her boyfriend were standing on my porch, loaded down with shopping bags, looking confused and cold. I opened the window slightly. Is there a problem? The key won't work. Something's wrong with the lock. Oh, there's nothing wrong with the lock. I changed it. Silence. Then Derek said, You changed it? Why would you change it? Well, since you don't live here anymore, I figured you didn't need keys. What do you mean we don't live here anymore? I looked at Amanda, who was starting to look less smug and more concerned. I mean your free ride is over. You're adults. Time to act like it. Mom, this is crazy. It's Christmas Eve. You can't just lock us out. I'm not locking you out. You don't live here. Those are two different things. Amanda stepped forward. Margaret, this is ridiculous. We have nowhere else to go. You should have thought of that before you decided to humiliate me in a parking lot. Derek's voice got louder. Mom, you're being irrational. We can talk about this inside. Just open the door. We can talk about it right there on the porch. I'm perfectly comfortable inside my house. It's 15 degrees out here. Yes, it's cold when someone abandons you outside, isn't it? That's when Amanda's true colors finally showed. You bitter old witch. You're just jealous because Derek chose me over you. I smiled. Amanda, Derek didn't choose you over me. Derek chose freeloading over working. You're just the accessory that came with his midlife crisis. This is insane, Derek said. Mom, we live here. Our stuff is in there. Your stuff will be in storage by tomorrow afternoon. I'll text you the address and unit number. Storage? You can't just. I can, and I did. Everything's already arranged. Amanda was now shivering visibly. My Christmas presents are in there. All my makeup, my clothes, everything. Your Christmas presents are things you bought with my credit card, which has been canceled. Your makeup and clothes are things you bought with my money while living in my house rent-free. Consider it back rent. Derek tried a different approach. Mom, look, I'm sorry about tonight. We should have made room in the car. It was thoughtless. But this is extreme. No, Derek. Extreme would be what your father did when he abandoned us when you were 4. This is just natural consequences. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know. Where were you planning to go when your temporary stay ended? Oh wait, that's right. You weren't planning to leave. Amanda's sister, who had been silent until now, spoke up. Ma'am, it's Christmas Eve. Surely you can work this out tomorrow. I looked at her. You're right, it is Christmas Eve. A night for families to be together. Derek decided I wasn't family enough to ride in the same car with him. So now he can figure out what family means to him. Derek's voice cracked slightly. Mom, please. I made a mistake. No, Derek. You made a choice. 6 months of choices. Tonight was just the last one. We don't have money for a hotel. That's strange. You had money for Amanda's sister's Christmas presents. You had money for wine nights with friends. You had money for redecorating my living room without asking. That was different. It was my money. All of it. Every penny you've spent for 6 months has been my money. Amanda tried one more manipulation. Margaret, think about what Derek's father would say about you throwing out his son on Christmas Eve. I laughed. Actually laughed. Derek's father would probably be proud. He walked away from his responsibilities too. Apparently, it runs in the family. That shut her up. Derek made one final plea. Mom, what do you want from us? An apology? We're sorry. We'll do better. I don't want anything from you anymore, Derek. For 6 months, you've shown me exactly who you are. Tonight just confirmed it. So, what? You're disowning me? I'm not disowning you. I'm just not enabling you anymore. There's a difference. I closed the window and walked back to my kitchen. I could hear them talking on the porch, their voices getting more agitated. Amanda was crying now, not the pretty tears of manipulation, but the ugly tears of someone realizing their free ride was over.
My phone rang.
Derek again. Mom, Amanda's sister says they can't stay at her place because they're staying with their parents and there's no room. That sounds like a problem you'll need to solve. Can we at least come in and get some warm clothes?
No.
Everything you need is in storage. You'll get the address tomorrow. How are we supposed to pay for storage? I suggest you get jobs. Mom, we can't get jobs overnight. You've had 6 months to get jobs. You chose not to. The job market is terrible right now. The job market is fine for people who actually look for work instead of playing video games and redecorating other people's houses. This is cruel.
No, Derek.
Cruel is taking advantage of your mother's love for 6 months. Cruel is treating her home like a hotel. Cruel is leaving her in a parking lot on Christmas Eve because you don't have room for her in your life. What I'm doing is just long overdue boundaries. At 10:30 p.m., I heard Derek's car start up and drive away. I spent the rest of Christmas Eve wrapping gifts for the church's charity drive, listening to carols, and feeling more peaceful than I had in months. No one was running up my electric bill. No one was eating my food without asking. No one was treating my home like their personal playground. Christmas morning, I attended the early service at church, then spent the day volunteering at the community center, serving Christmas dinner to families who actually needed help. Real families dealing with real problems, not entitled adults who had confused generosity with stupidity. Derek called Christmas afternoon. Mom, we ended up at a motel on Route 6. It's $89 a night, and we can't afford more than a few days. That sounds motivating. Amanda's been crying all morning. Has she tried looking for a job? I hear Target's always hiring. Mom, please. Can't we work something out? We can. You can get jobs, find an apartment, and start acting like the adults you are. Then maybe we can have a relationship that isn't based on me funding your lifestyle. What if we paid rent? You don't have jobs. What if we got jobs? Then you'd have enough money to get your own place. Mom, come on. We made mistakes, but we're family. Family doesn't abandon each other in parking lots, Derek. Family doesn't take advantage of generosity. Family doesn't treat love like a credit line. So that's it? You're just done with us? I'm done being taken advantage of. If you want a relationship with me, it'll be on equal terms. Adults relating to adults. Not children taking from a parent. Derek was quiet for a long moment. What about our stuff? Text me your new address when you have one. I'll have everything delivered. What if we don't have an address? Then, I guess you'll have to figure that out. I hung up and turned off my phone. 3 days later, I got a text from Derek with an address for a studio apartment across town. I had a moving service deliver their belongings the same day. Everything they'd brought to my house, plus the things they'd bought with my money. I figured they could sell whatever they didn't need. A week later, Amanda called from a blocked number. Margaret, this is insane. Derek's working at a gas station making $12 an hour. I'm doing data entry for $15 an hour. We're barely surviving. Welcome to adulthood. You could help us. You're choosing not to. I helped you for 6 months. You chose to exploit that help instead of using it to get back on your feet. What if we paid you back? For what? For everything. The food, the utilities, everything. Amanda, you owe me approximately $6,000 for the past 6 months. When you have that money, we can talk. $6,000? That's impossible. Then I guess we won't be talking. Derek is miserable. Derek is employed. There's a difference. Don't you care about your son's happiness? I care about my son's character. His happiness is his responsibility. She hung up. 2 months later, Derek called. His voice sounded different. Tired, but more mature. Mom, I wanted to let you know that Amanda and I are getting divorced. I wasn't surprised. Amanda had never loved Derek. She'd loved the lifestyle he could provide when he was living off his mother. Without that, she had no use for him. I'm sorry, Derek. I'm not. I think I've been seeing things more clearly lately. How so? Working 2 jobs will do that to you. When Amanda realized I couldn't support her anymore, she started looking for someone who could. Found him pretty quickly, actually. Are you okay? I'm broke, tired, and living in a studio apartment with a Murphy bed. But yeah, I think I'm okay. Maybe for the first time in years. There was a pause. Mom, I know what I did was wrong. All of it. The way I treated you, the way I let Amanda treat you. Taking advantage of your generosity. Christmas Eve. Derek. No, let me finish. I've had 2 months to think about this. I was a terrible son. I treated your love like a business transaction. I let my wife disrespect you in your own home. And Christmas Eve, leaving you in that parking lot was unforgivable. I felt tears stinging my eyes. Derek, I don't deserve forgiveness. But I want you to know that I understand now what you were trying to teach me. About responsibility, about consequences, about treating people with respect. It took you working 2 jobs to figure that out? It took me losing everything to figure out what actually mattered. And what matters is the people who love you enough to tell you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it. We talked for an hour. Really talked for the first time in years. Derek told me about his jobs, morning shift at a warehouse, evenings at a grocery store. He was exhausted, but he was proud of earning his own money. He'd found a small apartment he could afford on his own. He was learning to cook, to budget, to live within his means. Mom, would you maybe want to have coffee sometime?
I'll buy.
With money I actually earned. I'd like that very much. And Mom, thank you. For what? For loving me enough to let me fail. For not letting me stay a child forever. 6 months later, Derek and I have coffee every Sunday morning. He's been promoted to assistant manager at the grocery store, and he's taking night classes to finish his business degree. He lives in a modest 1-bedroom apartment that he keeps immaculately clean. He cooks his own meals, pays his own bills, and hasn't asked me for money once. Last Sunday, he brought up Christmas Eve. Mom, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest. Okay. Did you plan what happened that night? The locks, the credit card, all of it. I thought about lying, about making it sound more spontaneous than it was. But Derek deserved the truth. I'd been planning it for weeks, I admitted. I was just waiting for the right catalyst. You provided it. Derek nodded slowly. I'm glad you did. Really? Really? If you hadn't forced me to grow up, I'd probably still be playing video games in your living room while Amanda spent your money. I'd still be a 31-year-old child instead of a man. And you're not angry? I was furious at the time.
But now?
Now I'm grateful. You gave me the best gift anyone's ever given me. What's that? The chance to become someone I could respect. This Christmas Eve, Derek and I are volunteering together at the community center, serving dinner to families in need. Real families facing real challenges, just like we did that night a year ago.
And Amanda?
Last I heard, she'd moved in with her new boyfriend, a middle-aged divorced man who owns a car dealership. She posts pictures of their expensive vacations on social media, always tagged with hashtags like #blessed and #livingmybestlife. Some people never learn, but my son did, and that's the best Christmas present I could ask for. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you think I was too harsh or if Derek and Amanda got exactly what they deserved. Your thoughts matter to me.
See you next time.